Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast. My name is Jędrek.
My name is Masha.
And we are two English teachers recording their conversations.
Sounds creepy.
Sounds creepy, but do you
fun.
think, Masha?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that conversation or human conversations will ever get out of date?
No. Not only it will not get out of date, you will have to sort of pay me to have a conversation with you.
Oh my God! But what a gloomy, Wait, come on, develop this. What a gloomy vision. You mean that people will stop talking with each other? Or this is something that is already happening, that we are having less and less interactions, I mean, verbal.
Yeah, try and get a human on the other end of the line if you want to solve a problem with a service, a company.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, everything is, I mean, you are
it doesn't count as a conversation. Well, it is a conversation, but well, I mean, not the one you want to have.
Yeah. But wait a second. What do you mean by try to have this, technical support? Because I thought that you mean that there is less and less of
5 years humans. Ago, I would be put through to a human, like immediately.
Yeah.
And now I will be put through a human only if I listened to this and this and this, and I couldn't find the answer. Then the FAQ, AI couldn't help me. Only then.
You're right.
And you now have to pay your shrink, your coach. We used to have friends for that, and now friends are.
You mean that people are paying shrinks and English teachers just to have
not English coaches?
Yeah, coaches. Yeah, okay, but English coaches. No, but
yeah.
But you mean that something that used to be an everyday phenomenon is right now somehow getting commodified and sold because it's rare?
I don't know. I think relationships between humans are changing. Everybody has now their personal boundaries, and I'm not ready to listen to you venting right now because I don't know. We used to have friends for that.
Yeah, you're right. I think, but you think it's the internet that is doing it, the technology?
Technology? Maybe not. Not necessarily. I don't know. Maybe we are entering a new era of love yourself first. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had this sort of sociological knowledge, to see the trends and so on. Or is it simply something that's
technology? I see where you are. I understand where you what you're driving at. Yes, you can have a conversation with our favorite friend, this chat, and it's gonna be only. I mean, you don't have to listen to it whining in return. You don't owe it anything. Yeah, and you will never be criticized. You will never be shown, maybe you're not right in this situation. You're just venting. You're just talking. It listens. So why not?
Yeah, it's like, you're right. Okay, great. So there's this pessimistic outlook that conversations are on the wane. They are disappearing.
But on the other hand, the conversations which are not about venting, but when people just try and get to the bottom of something and are really, really genuinely interested in what another person thinks, probably not. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I was wondering about this for a moment because definitely the trend is toward some kind of atomization, and that, I guess, implies that we simply talk less with each other, not more but less. And we are sending, like, it's like, imagine Twitter, you're sending your thought out there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there are some interactions, of course, but basically it's like talking to a mirror, and I think that's what communication is kind of getting at, that we are just sending these messages, our thoughts, but we don't engage in meaningful conversations.
But what about all these comments?
Well, these comments, yeah, I mean, can you actually say that Twitter in this case, or Facebook, or can you actually have a meaningful conversation there? Rarely, there are trolls. And when you think about tools like social media, Twitter especially, I mean, it's your expression is very limited. Right now, it's I know it's more than 140 characters. It's double this, but still, I mean, can you honestly express what you think in 1 or 2 SMSs? It's not. I don't know.
And it's not that it's the social media, the medium, the company itself that limits it. It's what people want. People don't want to read, long text. They want to use Instagram, where the posts are short and are mostly,
or
pictures.
even visual. Or in visual, because I know if anyone is reading the posts on Instagram, I mean, maybe one.
Then it's TikTok, where
in
you
100.
have the length of video is 30 seconds. Now you have these shorts they're called on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah.
And
but then again, I mean, if this is communication, it's a very specific kind of communication where you basically send content in that case, and you leave it up to to the public to comment, to talk about. But I don't think it equals a conversation.
Yeah, you don't actually, probably most people don't even want to engage in a meaningful conversations. They are after, what it's called interaction. They want people to interact with their content in any way. They don't even care if it's if people like or hate. Even hate is interaction.
Yeah. All right, so here we are.
So it's gloomy. Yeah,
it's gloomy. Yeah. And
we are
look
dinosaurs.
at us. You are dinosaurs. Exactly. You're dinosaurs, Yeah, I mean, I wish I had the statistics of phone conversations, because they have almost totally been replaced by texting, I guess. I mean, who's calling today to chat for a long time? I mean,
old people.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, it's interesting, when you think about that. And at the same time, I think a genuine conversation, and I don't mean like functional stuff, like, you go to the restaurant, you order food, or this is not really a conversation. I mean, it's a functional language at use, but definitely not a genuine conversation where you try to negotiate some meaning, and find common ground. But this is something that's extremely pleasant,
Yeah, it is.
But somehow it's I don't know, it's getting lost, in the ocean of other types of communication. The old school conversation is kind of losing, I guess.
Maybe we are so polarized today then that, I mean, instead of being at each other's throats trying to prove your point, I'd rather, scroll through my feed thoughtlessly.
Yeah,
Try
and
to
it's
forget everything.
and it's safe,
So
I
it's safe.
remember, I don't know,
Yeah.
was it Roger Scruton or someone, I can't remember, talking about the difference between uh, talking to people live, being in the same room,
Hmm.
versus communicating over, some platforms and so on. And if you are there with a person, then you have to sort of accept the fact that you cannot cancel that person. You know what I mean? You cannot just turn off your phone
Yeah, I
or
was thinking,
close the tab
leaving the
in your browser.
conversation. Yeah, leaving the
Yeah, you
conversation
can't. I
becomes
mean,
very
well,
difficult. You
yeah,
have to
yeah. I
just
mean,
literally stand up and leave the room.
which is very impolite and yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's not what you do. So you are sort of forced even to, well, listen to someone and like I said, find a common ground.
Hmm.
Whereas online, you can just close the tab
Yeah,
or block someone,
or even block.
so
Yeah.
that you won't see that person again on your
Hmm.
timeline. And
Hmm.
that is, of course, the essence of the cancel culture. Cancel culture is much, much, much more difficult in real life, because you can cancel someone like that. Yeah. So that is it. All right, fine. So with that being said, we are two English teachers who run conversations. Why do we do it? Because it's a pleasure. It's like killing at least two birds with one stone. I mean, you learn the language, that it's, technical side, like, syntax, building language.
Hmm.
And then on the other side, you have some pleasure coming from the exchange.
Yeah, intellectual fun.
Intellectual fun, yeah, I'd call it that. However, it's not always intellectual. Sometimes it's maybe, less intellectual than it seems, but still, it's, and once again, you have, I mean, I've had over my lifetime, well, lots of conversations. I mean, it's my work, but I can't remember really anybody whom of course, I'm a teacher. Okay, maybe it's not, I'm not the right person to say it, but I can't remember anybody whom I wouldn't understand or accept, in the way, like, because all points of view are somehow acceptable when you're in a conversation, not an online conversation, but real one.
But not any conversation. Conversations we have, we don't get, it's not the aim of conversation is not actually to establish the truth, because that you may ask the same question different people and they will have very different opinions on this, but as long as they can make themselves clear,
Yeah,
that's great. So we
exactly.
are not,
Exactly. Well, this is
in the
again
pursuit.
negotiating the meaning. You present your point of view, I present my point of view, and we are trying to find some
Yeah, but
common
it's not like
points.
in court, when a lot depends on whose opinion will, prevail in the end. We don't care about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you may totally disagree and see it in a totally different way than another person, but it's not that important but no, think, listen to this. Don't you see it like that? No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, so let's go to the thinking out loud proper. Those of you who are new to the show, you should know that it's more or less what we do in our classes. Or is it exactly what we do in our classes? Because
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
using the questions that I ask you are the questions I'm asking my students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is the only difference is that you answer differently, just like everybody answers differently. And it's not about language. It's simply, your point of view is different. And I love asking even the same question
over and over again.
Oh yeah, over and over, because it's, I never repeat the question with the same person, but I like asking the same question against different minds, and the results are fantastic. Okay, great. Studiomentals.com is our website. Go check it out if you are if you're the old school users of the internet who visit websites, who go beyond social media.
Yeah.
And that's it. Let's start round one. Why not?
Round one.
So, Masha, I'd like to know from you, which, oh no, okay, the question is, could be formed as a choice, but I'm going to ask, I think I'm going to ask an open question here. So, do you have to admire somebody to learn something from that person?
And what it would be as a choice? I wonder.
The choice would be whether, yeah, great. The choice was whether admiration or jealousy is a better, let's call it, engine or mechanism of learning. Because if you're jealous,
when you're jealous, doesn't it involve at least a little bit of admiration?
Well, it does, I think, because otherwise you wouldn't be jealous
of
right?
His intellect. It means that
or
his intellect
French.
is, or his French. It means his French is impeccable,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I admire. And jealous, it just means that I think it's not fair that he has it and I don't, or something like this, or I want to have it as well. I mean, they're not exclusive,
Right, but isn't that envy in that case? Because we are, I guess, threading a.
But why would you envy something you don't find admirable?
No, you're right. You're right. So in fact, okay,
sorry,
but
I ruined your choice. But okay, yeah.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't. But do you? But yeah, let's go back to the open question. Do you need to? Is admiration necessary in the process of learning? Can you learn something if you are indifferent? It's like, oh, okay.
I think you kind of can look at what happens at schools, and you probably know this average. In Russian, we usually call her Masha because they are usually all all A-level students. I mean, most A-level students for girls, they're named Masha. Jesus.
Were you a straight A student? Almost. All right. Well, don't ask me about my grades.
And you know how they are, these kids. They just study. They just do really well because this is what's expected of them. I don't know. Or usually this is what their parents expect from them. It doesn't mean that they particularly like these subjects. Very often they are indifferent. Like there are children who, like my son, who asks me, why do I need to know this? It's totally not interesting, first. Secondly, I don't see any application of this in real life. Therefore, I'm totally indifferent. I mean, if I pressed hard enough, if I introduced, a clever incentive system, he would probably do, I don't know, really well, but maybe better. So I mean, you can lure somebody into learning something they are indifferent to by, using this carrot and stick, mostly carrot probably, but stick also works. I mean, I
Great,
did
great.
well at school, but I wasn't passionate about any. Well, Jesus, that sounds terrible. Not any, but most of the stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're right, because you can treat learning like, let's say, an art in itself. I mean, I want to excel. I want to have,
Oh yeah, I like
top
learning.
grades. Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
again, I've got
And in that case, the personality of the teacher
matters.
is
Yeah.
totally irrelevant. I mean, because it could be a boring teacher, inspiring teacher. You don't care because you want to master the material, the subject matter.
I don't know. For children, it's very important, the personality of a
But
teacher.
what about those mashas? I mean, these straight A students. I don't think they care about whether the teacher is charismatic or not, inspiring or not.
Maybe it takes them less effort to excel at subjects if they like the teacher. And they have to try a little harder, kind of push them. They need more motivation to do well at subjects when the teacher is, not really charismatic and engaging. But actually, did I, does it count as learning? Because I don't remember most of the stuff I learned at school. I'm sorry to admit.
That's a great. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, it's. I think the majority of us, I think, feel the same. That is, we simply don't remember.
Yeah, I memorized. I passed the test. Done. Forgotten. Because I just worked out the system, how to be a straight A. Okay, not straight A, but mostly a straight A student. It's not easy. I mean, if you can connect the dots, put 2 and 2 together. You work out the system, you behave. That's all it takes.
But wait a second. Okay, you forgot most of, let's say, the facts or the knowledge, right?
Knowledge.
Previously,
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah. But what do you think is left in you apart from knowledge?
Work ethic.
Work ethic.
That's it.
That is, doing something that that I have to do. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That's the. I think that's the greatest. Let's say win from school. I mean, from treating school like that, right?
I don't know. 10 years.
Yeah, but
is there
you
a
learn...
shorter way to develop good work?
Exactly. You could. I mean, it's kind of a shame that what is left, unless there is something you don't know that is also. I mean, the school has
politics.
What politics? Like what?
Well, there's social groups and how to.
Yeah, but this is. I mean, you talk about what you have learned from your peers, but not from the
but school.
Well, the institution was like.
Institution
was an accidental learning. I mean,
there's also politics involved. I mean, you need to figure out what this teacher values, and you just give it to her.
Yeah, you're right.
I sound like like a manipulator.
No, but
what can you do if your parents wouldn't accept anything below an A? What can you do? You adapt.
Yeah,
you have to survive.
Of course, yeah. And I want to say that it's a surviving school,
Yeah.
And you discover these mechanisms and you perfect them. All right. So there's I don't know, again,
but admiring, actually, did I admire anybody? Admire as like in school, when you're a kid, it's important kind of to separate this. You admire a person as a person, or you admire how much the person knows, how the level of whatever expertise. When you're
but it doesn't matter, actually.
No, with children it matters.
I mean,
You
I don't
can be
think children actually
super.
appreciate your level of expertise. I mean,
Yeah, they don't.
they
They
can
they
feel
just
it. I mean,
admire you as a person.
as a person, yeah. Whether you're funny or not, whether you're whatever. There's
But when
lots of.
you're an adult, you may and you usually admire the level of expertise. The person may be an
Yeah.
asshole, but you know that, oh my God, he's a genius, and you want to learn from him, even if you know he's an asshole. So
I was,
admiration.
I'm asking you this question also partially because there's a general opinion that if you end up among natives, you're going to pick up their language and learn faster because there are natives all around you, and you're in the target language, immersed in the target language. But if you don't really like these people, I mean, the culture and everything, I'm not sure if this is not a barrier, for learning, because you simply don't like it, or you don't really admire them. You just you don't find anything worth copying. You know what I mean? It's
I'm not sure. I know the case when a friend of mine, she moved to the Netherlands and she is trying to learn
the Dutch
Dutch,
language.
yeah. And Jesus, she hates the language itself, how it sounds, the sound of it. And her, everything in her is resisting. That's yeah, I can understand that, but not picking up. I mean, picking up is not something you do consciously, as far as I understand the definition. And just because you don't like these people, what you will just, I don't want to remember this. Please don't stay in my head. No, I don't.
In fact, what happens in that case is the opposite. It's the same with earworms. I mean,
yeah,
you listen to a song and then
I'm sure you will pick it up, and they don't have to be natives. You just, what if you work for an international company where you have speakers of other languages, but the language of business the language in your company is English. They're not natives, but you hear English 8 hours a day. So where do natives
but if you don't like
here?
it, but tell me, if you don't like it,
the language or the people?
Serious obstacle, the language, or I don't know, the users, because it's hard to say I love the users, but I hate the language, or vice versa. I don't know. But I think some kind of emotional link helps a lot. An emotional link with the teacher, or
well,
with,
then if
the
nobody
subject
would
matter.
want to learn German because Hitler spoke German.
Yeah, but Germany is not Hitler. I mean, it's like, at least not all of it. It's like, I mean, you can't put an equal sign. Come on. I mean, sure, it's perhaps an important part of their history.
There is a Soviet poet, Mayakovsky. You probably heard of him. And in one of his poems, it goes like, "I would learn Russian only because Lenin spoke Russian." So that's
All
no,
right.
I'm not sure that if you don't like people who speak the language, you will not pick it up. Maybe you wouldn't want to study it. That's one thing, but you can't help not. I mean, if you're not deaf.
So you mean that studying and picking up are two different things?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, picking up happens kind of independently.
That's what that's what you promote.
Yeah, that's what I'm advocating.
People go and pick up language.
Yeah, listen. Yeah. I mean, have
by
enough
osmosis.
Input. Yeah, then try and build the language, and yeah, at this moment of history, I think it's the right way to learn, more or less, in a pleasant way, it's without effort. But I'm not sure if.
But it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm doing that with my French. I'm not studying the language, but simply I'm having quite a lot of input. And then with the output, well, naturally, of course, there is an output. But yeah, but it takes time, sure.
So if you don't have a lot of time and you don't mind some effort, you can do some studying.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Thanks a lot, Masha. Great answer. Let's go to round 2, if you don't mind.
Okay, today I get my round 2. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, exactly.
Last time I didn't get it. So imagine you have a story to tell. One story to tell. What do you think would take more skill to tell this story in a novel or in a haiku?
Sorry, in what?
Haiku. What is the Japanese?
Haiku.
What is haiku?
I mean, I know, maybe it's some kind of a strange pronunciation of haiku.
Okay. Well, this. Right. How many lines are there?
Wait a second. The lines in haiku, they're like I don't know, 7 or 11. No,
3.
There's something about. Oh yeah, sorry, 3 lines. Yeah, you're right. 3 lines. There are just 3 lines. You're right.
Let me check, because if I got the name wrong.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was. It's been a long time since I read any haiku.
It's haiku, 3 phrases.
Yeah, 3 phrases, not even.
Well, you got the idea. The longest possible form or the shortest possible form, which I believe
and the
is
question
haiku.
The question is, in which form the story would be.
No, which would take more skill.
More skill. All right. It's a tricky question because I'd say haiku is more difficult. Maybe because you need to be really clever. But then if you want to write a really clever novel, I mean, come on, you have to be clever too. If you want to, write something that is outstanding, that's something that is different from everything else. But I don't know, it's maybe just my ambition to write like that. But to write a good novel, look at this. Actually, I'm reading right now this book by Colleen Hoover, It Ends With Us. What a love story, for
love
busy
story
women. Yeah, it's a love story, but Colleen Hoover. So I mean, let me read you the back cover here. Or maybe not, because it's too long. I'll basically tell you what the story is about. There's a girl who falls in love with, listen to that, a neurosurgeon. A guy is perfect. This guy is perfect. I mean, flawless, except he doesn't want any relationship. I mean, anything longer. He just wants sex, And then there's another guy who she knows from her childhood. Is kind of, her first love. And now he comes back to her life. And there are these 2 guys. She has to choose between, one of them. I know what's going to happen because I'm like in the middle of this book. But it's so typical, I'm not reading novels like that. It's the first time in my life I think I'm reading a novel like this. Just
Why?
because someone mentioned because I wanted to take a break from reading, the highbrow stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it's not interesting. It is actually interesting. The book is actually interesting. I mean, because the story is kind of cliche, and you have the feeling like I've already read it, or I've already seen it in different places, this sort of plot and so on. But somehow it's keeping you glued to that plot, And I want to say that this is not really like ambitious literature, but she sold I don't know how many millions of copies of that, and there was a movie, I guess HBO has turned this book into a movie or a TV show.
Mhm.
So and you ask me if it takes a skill to write this. I don't know. I have a feeling I could come up with this kind of story, and write it. But of course, I'm not saying I'm able to do it. But yeah, or AI could do it. If you told ChatGPT, could you write a love story about a neurosurgeon, perfect guy who doesn't want any relationship, longer relationship. And
Definitely be able to do it.
it would Colleen Hoover could actually be AI, I don't know. Look at
Okay,
even her name,
let me kind of offer a different perspective. You probably agree that films are getting longer and longer. Compare with
sure?
the night. Yeah. An
All
average
right.
film
Yeah,
right
you're
now
right. It
is
used to
2
be.
hours.
Yeah, it used to be. You're right. It used to be.
It used
like
to be
90
1
minutes.
hour and 90 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
So
You're right.
the directors of the 90s were able to tell a story in 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And now what's happening? They are not able to do it anymore. They need what? 120. The Avatar is what? 3 hours something.
Yeah. But you know what? Does it mean that they are less skilled? Because they are unable to, let's say, tell the story in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So that definitely favors haiku as like the utmost, level of
Yeah.
proficiency to
You
write
can
a
you
haiku.
kind of see the essence of it, and you are able to give it to me in a very smart way in just 3 lines. Isn't that skill?
This is skill for sure, but I wouldn't dismiss novelists as less.
Yeah, of course I compare. Yeah, I was just thinking about cinematography and what is happening. Like the films have less and less, essence.
Wait, isn't there?
But they're
I'm
longer and
smelling
longer.
I don't know, of course, but I'm smelling some kind of commercial reason in the films being.
Yeah, this is what my
longer.
student told me. He said that cinemas make more money actually on selling popcorn and different snacks. So of course they want films to be longer because you will buy more.
That's a fair point.
That's
a
clever.
fair point. Of course. So in fact, what's driving the film industry is not the actors or whatever, but it's the popcorn producers.
it's insanely
they are
expensive.
behind the changes. Yeah, you're right. But it's a fair point. But I think that perhaps if the movie is longer, it's going to I don't know what. Wait a second.
And this TV series, it's one season.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have a film which is then later turned into a TV series because it's at least 10 episodes, which means it's at least 10 hours. And imagine, the skill it takes to tell the same story in just 90 minutes. And now everything is so over-explained to you. You don't even have to think.
You're right.
I'm
ranting
about.
But Masha, at the same time, what's happening with novels? They are actually getting shorter and shorter.
Are they?
I'm not sure, but I think books are getting shorter. I think. Well, I wish I had again.
Not my impression.
That. I think that books or maybe not. Maybe it's about sentences, not the books themselves, but sentences. That sentences are less and less complicated.
So we are moving towards simplification because people are not ready to what.
It's about the easiness of reading, of
flawless user experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's the flawless user experience. But when you talk about movies, and why are they actually getting longer? It's It's an interesting phenomenon. Probably I'll have a clever idea after we disconnect, It's like, of course. I like the popcorn kind of theory,
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. However, maybe there is more time to locate products, to
Maybe actors are becoming worse because you can do something. I mean, you can give a nice look worth of 2-minute dialogue. See what I mean? An actor can do it in a single look instead of using words and explaining it.
Yeah,
but it will leave you.
I think it's too far-fetched. It's too far-fetched when you say that actors are getting worse because
of course they're not. Of course they're not. But why do films get longer and longer? A good film from the 90s was 90 minutes and did the job.
I'll tell you that if you want to talk about quality, which I think is the product of skill, right? You have the skill, so you produce quality. And if you want to talk about quality of the texts, or then I think it's independent from the length, because you can have a long text that's super boring, but you can have a long text where not even one word is unnecessary, because it takes simply this much page or this many pages to tell the story. I think,
short forms are believed by writers, and I know because I was told this by a writer when I was doing a writing course, creative writing. And true masters of short stories, they are like Hemingway, for example, and a couple of others. And we were given a home task. We had to write a short story, not more than, like, it was very, very strict, not more than 3,000 words. And you know how I struggled with it. It's very difficult. And you have this idea, and it's not like, write about how to make tea, you boil kettle, blah, blah, blah. If the theme was, for example, I don't know, sea.
But how about writing basically however long it takes, and then just squeezing the text into 300?
It's really difficult, editing, because this is how I did it at first. I just wrote whatever I felt I had to write.
The story,
Then my word processor tells me, let's say it's twice longer than it should.
Twice the limit,
and then it's utter suffering, because everything seems so important to you. And if you cut out this piece, then you have to somehow explain it's there. It's really complicated, really difficult. So that's why short forms are, they're kind of, I don't want to say that novelists or, Tolstoy, who wrote the longest book in the world, well, not the longest, but he hasn't got talent, but you have just, as many pages as you possibly want. You can explain anything. But if you only have 3 lines,
yeah, you're right. You have to be extremely skilled.
If you only have 90 minutes, because cinemas will not show anything longer than 90 minutes, you have to, excel at dialogues.
But I'm thinking that still there is something like good haiku and bad haiku, I guess.
Well, of course.
So you
let's talk about the best haiku.
Yeah, I know. But I think that the quality, let's compare the best haiku versus the best novel. I think they are incomparable.
They're
two different.
you can't compare them. Yeah.
forms, basically. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't exist, like, separate categories,
Well, my real
But
question was, of course, why films get longer and longer. I just wanted to complain about it. But I
yeah, but I
wanted
know,
to wrap it
but
into a
honestly, is
nice
there,
question,
but is
the
there
way you
something?
like it.
Is there something to complain about? I mean,
Of course, I don't like. I love Avatar, the first part, and I would really want to go and watch it in the cinema, the second.
Mhm,
But it's
mhm.
just so long. I can't bear the thought of
Well, you take a day
spending
off, and
no, just spending 3 hours in with a bunch of strangers chewing their popcorn. 3 hours or even more.
but
And I would
you
hate,
get
to go to the toilet, after 2 hours, just
yeah, but but you know how time flies when you're engrossed, and and you don't even notice that. If you think about the Lord of the Rings, you follow the plot, there are emotions and music and everything, and it's like a
I
journey.
only watch director's cut, which is sometimes 3 hour 40 minutes of Lord of the Rings, but I only do it at home, and I only do it twice a year. Once is a New Year, and
I
the
think
second
we are getting closer to the commercial answer, because I think no matter what the viewerships and so on tell you, but I think we are shifting from watching movies, Hollywood productions and others in cinemas, to watching them in our home screens. So once you're comfortable, you can make yourself tea and coffee, whatever, eat
take a
pizza
break.
and everything. Take a break, exactly. So I think maybe this is one of the reasons why movies, but you're right, because very soon you will have to take a day off to watch a movie in the cinema, because it's going to be like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I think Titanic was it was a very long movie.
Yeah, we thought, oh my God, it's so long.
Yeah, but then again, I think it's interesting. It's interesting, and you could potentially tell the story in 90 minutes or even less, but that would feel like it's not epic, because if you think about epic movies, Lord of the Rings, Avatar, the length adds to this, feeling of this work.
Yeah, it
really...
used to be like this. If an epic film came out, it was absolutely expected for it. It will be longer than any average. But look at films right now. It means that every single film is an epic, which they are not.
Every single one aspires to be, for sure. Yeah, but you're right. I like that. But then again, if you think about short stories, do they actually have the same impact as novels?
If they're skillfully written, yes. I didn't even understand this until I had to, as homework, we had to read Salinger, a couple of short stories, Hemingway, and I don't remember who else.
The Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye is not a short story.
It's not.
No.
I mean, it's like 300 pages or what, but that doesn't count. It's a short story.
No, it's not a short story. No.
Right.
And
if anyone, I mean, you Masha, or anyone, if
any other
you're
Masha.
thinking about reading a short, or any other Masha, exactly. If you are looking for really great short stories, then I can clearly recommend Kurt Vonnegut and his short stories. Fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic. There was a story about what was the title? A Long Walk into, I don't know what, but was about a girl who's going to get married, but there's her old friend. Here you go, the story from Colleen Hoover, her friend from childhood, who takes her for a walk, and they talk, and they walk and walk and walk until he talks her into marrying him instead of the guy.
You see?
It's a great.
Yeah,
It's a
and I
great
think apart from the
short
skill
story.
as a writer, it takes you, you need some skill as a reader, you know, to appreciate a short story.
No,
Because
I could argue with you, because I mean, as a reader, you don't have any responsibility. I mean, you just read,
no,
and if
of
the
course,
stories,
yeah. But many people just don't even, they don't read short stories because, firstly, I mean, they're used to long forms where everything is explained to them. You don't have to read between the lines. You don't have to understand, you know, it's not like, okay, she felt this and that. No, you don't, you
that's
only,
another cultural reason why movies are longer, because everything has to be explained and shown explicitly.
it doesn't have to.
Otherwise,
It doesn't
mean,
have to.
it
Some
doesn't have
movies
to be,
don't do it.
but of course, but they are ambitious movies.
And they are considered, you know, art house, highbrow.
Yeah, exactly. But if you think about an average viewer, then you have to show everything, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes twice as much as, you know, it used to.
So highbrow stuff is short.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like just like poetry, you know. Poetry is always like a notch higher than you know, novels. And haiku is like, you know, like I said, the ultimate poetry, you know. All right.
Okay.
Great. It's been a really amazing conversation. I mean, great conversation with a lot of things to think about, basically. No conclusions as always, but I hope that our listeners that you were following us and you have your own theories why movies actually get longer and longer.
Maybe you have clever ideas, conclusions. We'd like to see them in comments. We never do.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's like on Twitter. We send these episodes out there.
Yeah.
We don't even know if anybody listens.
There's no. I mean, the viewership
30 people listen. Okay.
Hey, that's a lot. That's like you know, it's more than a family. You know, come on, we should meet one day, all of us, you know, and celebrate.
Okay.
All right. Great. So thanks a lot, Masha. It was a pleasure. And I have to play the applause. Great question. I don't know if I actually answered your question.
It's to you, actually. You were answering. The one who's answering formally gets the applause.
Yeah, but okay. So I'm playing this for myself. Nice. Oh, why don't I play it again? Right.
Oh yeah.
Fine.
Oh yeah.
So thanks a lot for listening. Thanks, Masha, for this conversation. It was great.
Thank you. It takes two to have a conversation.
It takes two, exactly, or more.
Or more. One day, maybe. Yeah, we'll have more.
Right. Fine. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.
Yeah. Stay safe, sane, and this was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.